Here it is. Struck him out. And for the first time since 1954. Into right, well hit. Back at the wall. It's off the wall. 1 run scores. Here comes Berkman.
No one to go. It's bumped it. Belcher goes to third. The 1-1 from Tyson. Batista with a try. Deep left field. No doubt about it.
After a 2010 beatdown by the underdog Giants, maybe the most heartbreaking loss in sports history the following year, and a nightmare 7th inning in the 2016 ALDS, it seemed like the Rangers were a franchise that was cursed. Across the Texas Rangers' 61-year history, it has been nothing but mediocrity, to put it nicely. After expanding in 1961, it took them 35 years to make the playoffs for the first time. Heading into the 2023 season, they were one of 6 teams to never win a World Series. And to make matters worse, they were by far the longest tenured team of the bunch. They were coming out back-to-back sub-70 win seasons and hadn't finished above 500 since 2016. Despite all of this, there were some positives to look forward to. They had developed a pretty solid farm system with some exciting prospects that included former Vandy stars Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker, along with top prospects like Evan Carter and Luis Angel Acuna. They were also lucky enough to play in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which has the 6th highest GDP in America, giving the Rangers a huge market, and their front office no shortage of cash to spend. And boy would they spend. The origins of this 2023 Rangers roster that we know today date back to their failures in 2015, 2016, and 2017. As previously mentioned, the Rangers had an epic meltdown in Game 5 of the 2015 ALDS, which led to the greatest bat flip of all time. The following year, they won 95 games but were swept by the Blue Jays in the ALDS, falling to them for the 2nd straight season. In 2017, they really went all in with an $178 million payroll, which ranked 3rd in the MLB. Surely this was a year, right? They won just 78 games and had a roster filled with aging, high-paid guys that were past their primes. So it was time to blow it all up. Over the next 4 seasons, they would get rid of everyone, and almost cut that $178 million payroll in half. They started off by trading Yu Darvish to the Dodgers at the 2017 deadline. Then they shipped off Jonathan Lucroy to the Rockies in a salary dump. In 2018, Adrian Beltre retired, and they got off his $18 million salary. That same year, they dumped Cole Hamels and his $22.5 million salary to the Cubs. Following the 2020 season, they got off a terrible 7-year contract that they gave Sin-Soo Choo back in 2013. And finally, they traded Elvis Andrus to the A's at the end of the 2020 season, saving $15 million. Through all these retirements and salary dumps, the Rangers cut their payroll down to $97 million in 2021, which ranked 19th in baseball. They were in a full-blown rebuild and a completely new era at this point. The real foundation of this team began taking place in 2020. It was the beginning of a new era in Arlington, which was seen with their brand new $1.3 billion stadium that opened at the start of the COVID season. It also hosted the NLDS, NLCS, and World Series, but the Rangers were nowhere to be found as they had the worst record in the American League that season, finishing at 22-38. Their farm system also ranked 21st in the MLB, which is not where you want to be while holding the worst record in your league. There was really nothing to look forward to at this stage. Quietly though, they were making some key moves throughout this year. One of them was taking Evan Carter in the 2nd round of the draft, which was maybe the most shocking pick in recent draft history. The Rangers took Carter with the 50th pick in this draft. This came as a huge surprise as he didn't crack Baseball America's top 500 prospect list or Perfect Game's top 400 list. MLB Network analysts were in shock, and fans on Twitter were not happy. But the scouting world was quickly put on notice as he would fly through the minors, dominating every level, and by the time he made his debut at age 20, he was the 12th ranked prospect in Baseball America's top 100. In the offseason, they shipped off their ace, Lance Lynn, for pitching prospect Dane Dunning, who would eventually become a big piece in their rotation and bullpen. 2021 would mark the first offseason for the Rangers that would really turn them into contenders. After most teams go 60-102, the front office focuses on the draft and how they want to plan for the next couple years to come, to maybe compete at some point down the line. Not the Rangers though. After winning 60 games in 2021, Rangers front office went out and committed $556 million to 3 players. They signed the top shortstop on the market, Corey Seager, to a 10-year, $325 million contract. This was a bit of a gamble as Seager had some health concerns while playing for the Dodgers, but when he was on the field, everyone knew how talented he was. He posted a 129 OPS plus and 21 wins above replacement in his first 7 seasons in Los Angeles. Marcus Semien was the other huge signing from that offseason as he signed a 7-year, $175 million contract with Texas. Semien was coming off a record-breaking season where he hit 45 home runs at second base, the most ever in a single season at the position. And finally, the Rangers extended John Gray to a 4-year, $56 million deal to try and build up that pitching staff. Even with these huge signings, there were still many glaring holes on this roster. They entered the year with a rotation that consisted of John Gray, Martin Perez, Taylor Hearn, Dane Dunning, and Spencer Howard. As you can imagine, it didn't end up going well, with Martin Perez being the only above-average pitcher here in terms of ERA+. Despite the holes, the Rangers were still expected to improve. And they did, by 8 games, finishing 68 and 94. But this was not where they wanted to be, and the season was ultimately a pretty big letdown. Their 2 big offensive purchases regressed. Seager's OPS Plus dropped by 25 points, as well as Marcus Semien's. And as a team, they were below average in ERA Plus and OPS Plus. One major stat that's important to note is that they went 15 and 35 in one-run games this season, and they had a Pythagorean win-loss of 77 and 85. So in other words, of all the possible outcomes for their 2022 season, they likely ended up with one of the worst, being a 68-win season. The front office goal for the 2022 offseason was clear: create a strong rotation that could support a playoff push. And what better way to carry out that goal than signing the literal best pitcher on earth, and maybe the most skilled pitcher to ever play, Jacob Degrom. It was a 5-year, $185 million deal, and while the upside was unlimited, it definitely came with risks, as he had made just 26 starts across his previous 2 seasons. They followed that blockbuster deal up by signing Nathan Eovaldi to a 2-year deal and Andrew Heaney to a 1-year deal. They also signed Bruce Bochy out of retirement to be their head coach. You truly couldn't have envisioned a better offseason to really put it all together. With the rotation in place and your stars locked up for years to come, it was now on the young guys to step up and take this team to the next level. Heading into the 2023 season, the Rangers were far from favorites. In fact, they had 45-1 odds to win the World Series, which put them right in the range of the Giants, Angels, and Orioles. Their win total was set at 81.5. The expectations were clearly much higher than their previous 68-win season, but still, 81 wins is nothing to write home about. Despite the average expectations though, they came out on fire and put the MLB on notice, starting 17-11 in the first month. By July 1st, they had the 3rd best record in the American League at 52-39. The offense did a complete 180 from the previous year, with guys like Josh Young, Ezekiel Duran, and Adolis Garcia really stepping up. However, it was still their pitching that was increasingly becoming a problem by this point. Jacob Degrom went down with Tommy John surgery on June 6, along with Andrew Heaney and Martin Perez heavily regressing from their great 2022 seasons. So how did the front office address this? They spent. Not money though, prospects. To this point, the organization had built a pretty strong farm system, which allowed them to ship out some prospects to fix up their pitching issues. In June, they traded former first-round pick Cole Reagans for Aroldis Chapman, who at that point was pitching like one of the best relievers in baseball.
104 from
Across 29 innings, he had a 2.45 ERA and a 43.4% strikeout rate. He seemingly regained all his elite velocity, going from 97.5 miles an hour on his fastball in 2022 to 99.1 in 2023. Reagans at the time was not a big-name prospect, but he was MLB ready and it instantly showed. With the Royals, he made 12 starts in the second half and was maybe the best pitcher in baseball over this stretch, pitching to a 2.64 ERA and 2.49 FIP. So a tough break here for the Rangers. On July 29th, the front office made a huge splash, trading Luis Angel Acuna, a top 50 prospect, for Max Scherzer. A day later, they finished off their busy trade deadline by acquiring Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton for a package of mid-tier prospects. Montgomery had put up a 3.42 ERA across 121 innings with the Cardinals, but with the Rangers, he really turned it on, dropping his ERA to a 2.79 with them and providing some huge postseason innings. To cap off their crazy month, they were able to land arguably the best player in the draft, Wyatt Langford, who fell to them at pick 4. It's crazy that the eventual World Series champions had the 4th pick in the draft that same year. From August 16th to September 8th, they went 4-16, going from 1st in the AL West and 2 games out of the 1 seed to 3rd in the West and fighting for their playoff lives. But we all know how the saying goes. It's not how you perform during that 20-game stretch in August, it's how you finish. And the Rangers finished hot, clinching their first playoff berth since 2016 on the last day of September in Seattle. After missing the playoffs for 6 straight seasons and winning just 68 games in the year prior, they improved their record by 22 wins. The Rangers took on the 99-win Tampa Bay Rays in the wildcard round and absolutely dominated behind huge performances from Evan Carter, Corey Seager, and their pitching, which allowed just 1 run in a 2-0 series sweep. They took that momentum into the divisional series, sweeping the Orioles, and ultimately making a big joke of the big mighty AL East. The offense took advantage of an already suspect Orioles pitching staff, scoring 21 runs in 3 games, sparked by some big-time home runs from Mitch Garver, Corey Seager, and Josh Young. In the ALCS, they faced off against the powerhouse of the American League, the Houston Astros. 7 straight ALCS appearances, 4 AL pennants, and 2 World Series rings since 2017. It was not going to be easy. On the back of huge outings from Jordan Montgomery and Nathan Eovaldi, the Rangers took both games in Houston. This was a shocking start for the underdog Rangers. In a series that looked like it was on its way to wrapping up in Arlington, the Astros reminded us once again who they were though. They took all 3 games on the road, putting them 1 win away from a 5th World Series appearance in 7 years. But Nathan Eovaldi, Jordan Montgomery, and Adolis Garcia had other plans. Through the first 3 games of the series, Garcia was 2 for 11. He finished with 10 hits, 5 home runs, and 15 RBIs, securing himself an ALCS MVP and a World Series appearance. The Rangers had just won 4 games in Houston, advancing to their first World Series since that heartbreaking 2011 loss. Game 1 of the World Series did not disappoint. When postseason legend Corey Seager stepped up to the plate with 2 outs in the 9th inning, you could feel that something crazy was about to happen.
With one swing. High drive! It's tied!
Adolis Garcia walked it off 2 innings later, giving the Rangers a 1-0 series lead. Corey Seager again was the difference in Game 3, hitting a 2-run home run and a 3-1 Rangers victory. And finally, in Game 5, they would record the final out in their first World Series win in franchise history. Corey Seager would take home his second World Series MVP with a 1.127 OPS and 3 big-time home runs. While some fans look down on teams who spend a ton of money on their roster, it's not a shameful thing at all. The team won 60 games in 2021, and they went out and spent around $700 million across the next 2 off-seasons. They invested in themselves, and it paid off. Winning multiple championships in a short span in the MLB is nearly impossible, and the Rangers may never make it back with this core, but they are absolutely set up to give themselves a shot at it over the next couple of years. They have an older core headlined by Seager, Semien, Garcia, and Degrom, and a younger core of Langford, Carter, Young, and Duran. And most importantly, they have money and they aren't afraid to spend it.